Greetings, Brutal Planet.
Yo, yo.
Today is going to be the beginning of a somewhat new segment called Now Streaming, where we talk about a new record that just hit the streaming sites today. This week, February 7th, 2025, we're going to start with... I have this.
Yeah, that's good. Jinjer Duel. Coming at you.
Ukrainian sensations Jinjer innovate with their unrivaled fifth modern metal masterpiece. Leading modern metal juggernauts Jinjer return with their eagerly awaited fifth studio album, Duel, set to be released on February 7th, 2025 via Napalm Records, known for their unique progressive groove metal sound that is impossible to replicate and goes against everything written in the heavy metal rulebook. Ukraine's Jinjer have cemented their standing in the global metal scene through tireless touring and the extreme success of their previous albums, including the chart-storming 2021 album Wallflowers. The new album showcases the very best of Jinjer's multifaceted extreme soundscapes, providing a gripping listening experience. Nothing less than the highest level of musicianship is expected from the modern metal frontrunners. And track after track, Jinjer skillfully delivers fierce attitude and emotion. On Duel, Jinjer continued their long-lasting collaboration with accomplished producer Max Morton, not to be confused with Max Martin, who co-produced, mixed, and mastered the album. This new masterwork lives up to Jinjer's reputation as metal visionaries, once more showing the band refuses to follow any set rules in their genre. What did you think about this album? I'm curious what your first thoughts are.
I honestly thought it was really good. I think so far from the music I've heard in 2025, I would say this is the heaviest metal album that's out right now or coming
Best
out.
Metal record. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I honestly think it's really great. I wouldn't care if she was a woman or not. Like, it doesn't even register when I'm listening to them.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say too, one of the things that hit me as I was listening to it is like, this is a musician's band. Like, everyone in the band is doing something incredible. From the vocals to the drums to the bass to the guitar, everyone's doing incredible stuff.
I think every song you can kind of get lost in. Like, they're not super long either. Like, they're each like 4 or 5 minutes long, but they're very like compact.
3 and 4 minutes. The longest track on the album is the title track, which is 4 minutes and 48 seconds.
But I think they have their classic, Jinjer elements and that like scrapey kind of dissonant sounding chords that they do a lot, that the guitar players doing. It's a great blend of like
guitar players
kind of style of music, but they also blend some of their like Ukrainian influence, and just being a band from Ukraine is pretty fucking hardcore in general.
I love her vocals, and as a lyricist, she's pretty great. Like, Eastern Europeans are like almost Asian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like Russia has, even their language is like different than like the typical, because it has a different alphabet and stuff than like the typical.
Yeah, I've always thought they're very intellectual.
But I think it's interesting that English isn't her first language, but her lyrics are really killer. So like on the song Hedonist, for example, the line that she has that I think is really good is she goes, I'm a stranger to restrictions.
Yeah.
I like that. So they have a very distinct style. Their style reminds me of like a Cobra kind of, like they have this. There's no other metal band that it's true in the press copy. Like, there's no other metal band that sounds like them. And they're heavy as fuck, but they have a style all their own. And it is kind of like sways, like they do these.
And they're you can tell that they're so well like rehearsed and well, because seeing them live, obviously too, for anyone that hasn't, you should definitely go catch Jinjer live if they're in your area.
We were at that show that they released, that they recorded.
Yeah, the live in Los Angeles. Yeah,
we were at that show. We were literally in the audience. So standout tracks to me, obviously, like the first track just comes in hard, and then kind of branches off into their. It's called Tantrum. Kind of branches off into their signature, style. And then the second track, Hedonist, was the one I was just reading the lyrics from. Rogue was one of the singles. I really dug Green Serpent, but my favorite track, the standout one on the album for me, was this number 8, Fast Draw.
Yeah, that was a great great one.
because she doesn't even sing in that one. It's all heavy vocals.
And it's like definitely like you're getting to like 220, 230 BPM, somewhere up in that
It's
range.
fast.
It's
Yeah,
super
it's fast and
from
hard.
the get-go.
And then, of course, the title track actually, I thought was really stood out. It makes sense to me why they named the album after that track.
I think it's definitely another addition to their discography that will be very cherished by a lot of metal fans, because it's just all around a really heavy album, front to back, start to finish. Like, you're not going to go wrong putting this on.
Yeah, and I was thinking about just their history, and the first time I ever saw them was on Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
They kind of started virally, like as just like, I'm like, it's that band with the chick singer that like has a really killer hard voice. And then after a while, it's kind of like, at first I kind of wrote them off as just like, it's like one of those like Facebook viral bands, like that'll be cool for 5 seconds. But then I kind of got to know them as a band and like their style and their music, and then we saw them live, and I've just been really impressed with. They've been around now for a while. They've what did they say? This was the 5th album?
I think Pisces was mine and a lot of other people's first kind of interaction with Jinjer. Like you see Tatiana kind of singing, like they start with the clean little guitar and the clean vocals, and then it just transforms into this, like, you're like, how is that coming out of her?
Their first record came out in 2014, so they've been on top of it. 2014 was Cloud Factory. 2016 was King of Everything.
Those are all super good. Okay, so Wallflowers was the last one, so I'm wrong.
Wallflowers is in 2021.
Macro is the one I was thinking about.
Okay.
But they have an EP called Micro as well.
Okay, yeah. EPs are down here. Objects in Mirror, Close, Inhale, Do Not Breathe. Live albums.
Live in Los Angeles, baby.
Yeah. So anyway, Jinjer Duel is out today, February 7th. When this video drops, the album will be out. You can go and stream it on your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon. What's the other one, the Jay-Z one called again? Is called Tidal. I was going to say Tinder.
Pop it on Tinder too.
Jump on Tinder and stream Jinjer. They do have kind of a sway to their music.
And it's not too much either. Like, it's not too overdone. Like, you can tell it's well put together.
It's heavy, but it has, what I was going to say is it has an Eastern influence. Like the sway part is kind of like their Eastern influence kicking in. But it does like remind me of like a cobra or like a serpent. Like it just has and it's the way they play, because they do these off kilter, like
like
the way that they kind of
I've noticed too, they do what I love in metal a lot is they don't always repeat the same riff. Like sometimes they'll play this thing and I'm like, oh, that was dope, and they don't play it,
and they never go back to it.
You got to re-listen or like kind of scroll back.
It's very dense. Dope. It's very dense music. Like it has mathy elements. There's subtle Dillinger Escape Plan type influences. I would be curious to pick their brains about like who their influences are.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure that
Jinjer, come on here.
And straight up, just to kind of like make references for people more my age demo, it does have tones of Faith No More, Mike Patton, like that melodic but heavy. And the bass is real prominent. So it's hard not to draw comparisons to Faith No More in that kind of style of almost like funk metal. But it's not funk metal at all. It's something all its own. But it has tinges of that, and those influences.
And to me, I think, obviously, no disrespect to any of the other female vocalists that are the front women of their band, but I feel like Jinjer and Tatiana have always stood out for me as like, apart from kind of those like generic sounding, like, industrial like super produced band. They have a really raw sound to their music, and it's, it's well, like I said, it's well put together. It's well written lyrically.
They're not gent. And for me, it's the vocals. I wouldn't, like you said, it's not cheesy. It's very like the style of vocals. Maybe it's because she's a woman, but it just feels so natural. Like I wouldn't even care if I didn't know her, I didn't see her. I would, and I thought she was a guy. it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I was saying, like about the Faith No More kind of influence. It's got that the melodic parts are good, and it still feels heavy. And honestly,
Yeah.
I have to say, on some of the songs where she was doing the like heavy vocals, I was almost like, man, you should have just stuck to the clean on some of these. That's maybe if I have any criticism, that's some of it. But it seems like on this record, she's branching into that a little bit more, maybe. Just doing like clean vocals. There's a couple songs that are like almost entirely clean vocals.
Yeah.
And then there's the number 8, which I thought was one of the better tracks on the album, one of the standout tracks to me, called Draw First.
That's what I mean. There's not,
it's all scream vocals.
Each song is, I think, a new journey, you know, like each song is very different from the other. Like you're not going to get the same kind of vibe from like, you know, the next song you listen to versus the last. You're going to get a different experience at each it's like 11 tracks, I think. So it's a pretty hefty album, but it's very worth listening to, I would say, for sure. Yeah,
definitely. If not the best album of the heavy record I've heard this year so far. I mean, it's only February, so come on, you know, it's a low bar to clear. But I would say one of the better heavy albums I've heard in the last, 6 months to a year, to be honest.
Yeah. Even 2024.
It's up there with a lot of the stuff I ranked high last year. So
I was going to say, if this came out in 2024, would you have put it in your top 10, do you think?
Well, it's a little early to say that. I need to give it a little more time to kind of gestate. But it's true. Like the initial few listens, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll definitely be spinning it a lot more.
Yeah.
Throughout the year. So
it'll be interesting to kind of see where we're at by the end of the year and what's come out.
And the thing about a record like this too, for me especially, is and a casual, I only listened to it a few times, but that's what's great about an album like this, is it's so dense. It has a lot of re-listening value.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff going on. You can listen to it a few times and still pick up a bunch of new stuff, or like really zone in on a part of the song that you never really paid attention to, or it's really good stuff. So it's go stream it today. February 7th, 2025 is when this video will drop, and we'll be back with more good stuff for you coming soon. Now streaming Jinjer Duel.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Maybe they put the accent in there because it sounds like Duel.
Yeah, that's what I was maybe thinking.
If you do that,
I don't know.
I mean,
regardless,
it's Duel.
Go check it out.
For us uncultured, Westerners, it's Duel. If you're like from France or somewhere in the East, maybe it's Duel.
Duel.
Yes. And that's kind of a cool thing to think about, though. Maybe that's probably why she did it. She's obviously a very intelligent, wordsmith and lyricist. So like it could be like it sounds like Duel. It could be like Dwell. Like
that's my thing. Like I said, I'll reiterate.
Or do well, like do well. You know what I mean? DO space WELL.
Duel.
Do well. Yeah,
I don't know.
So I love all that kind of play on word stuff. So maybe I'm just overthinking it, but the album is called Duel and it's out today, streaming everywhere. It's a fantastic fucking record. We will see you next time.
Keep it brutal.
What he said.